Welcome back to Three Ball Walk, second session. Bob, Eddie, and Julio. And last week, and I kind of felt like, we were talking a little bit to Sports Illustrated Jinx, and we were talking about...
We're starting a new one, the Three Ball Walk, Jinx.
Talking about people who doing outstanding things in the community, and I just harped on Dee Gordon.
You were on Dee Gordon's train.
You were.
And that night, well, actually early the following morning,
yes.
and which in itself, they announced 80-game suspension. Interesting thing about baseball is he is eligible to come back for the last month of the season, but should the Marlins make the postseason, he is ineligible for the postseason.
Really? Because he won't have played enough games?
No. Baseball's drug suspension rules, if you get suspended during the season, you cannot play in that year's postseason.
So he's essentially done for the year. Why would the Marlins bring him back?
Well, they will. They will. I mean, you get Dee Gordon to play in September, get ready for the following year, but he'll play it'll be like a September call-up of someone you're not going to be able to use in the postseason.
And if it's close, he could help him on a playoff run.
Sure.
Yeah, for sure. So
you can help them get in the playoffs,
you can't play.
But you can't play in the playoffs. That rule makes sense in some other alternate universe.
And a lot of the baseball thing, and I get it, and we don't want kids out there taking drugs and everything like that, but with a lot of is baseball public relation-wise shooting themselves in the foot?
What do you mean? I mean, how? How do you think they're shooting
I
themselves
understand, and I mean, we know there's no drug problem in football. I mean,
no.
They don't use any banned substances, and if they do, it's the first 5 are secret and you don't tell anybody and everything like that. But baseball public relations wise, and these people tell you that look at the numbers and look at attendance, and it's never been higher and whatever. But when you're afraid to make an announcement that last year's batting champion is going to be suspended for 80 games because the NFL draft is on, and the Cleveland Browns are trading the 21st pick to the Washington Redskins, and that's going to get major headline, and your batting champion is going to get suspended. You wait until after the game at 1 o'clock in the morning Eastern time to announce the suspension, and
long
just in
after
general,
the offices were closed.
Right? How? Number one, why did they not suspend him that afternoon?
And why they let him play that game.
And which he wound up getting a hit to tie the game in the 7th inning and then scored the go-ahead run.
So if the Dodgers don't make the playoffs by 1 game, that could have been the difference. No, the Dodgers.
And he was already, they already knew. And then showing him the type of player, he knows this is his last game, and he goes out there and performed pretty well.
Yeah.
I mean, but just in general, I think from... And I know it's not performance-enhancing talk, but from the debacle with you run out of pitchers in the 12th inning of an All-Star game.
That's just where I was going.
So you decide to make the All-Star game be for home field advantage in the World Series. Just public relations-wise, we talk about how much you love interleague play.
I love it. Yeah, absolutely. It's my favorite thing in the world, not my favorite thing in the world.
The one thing that can be, Bud Selig wanted to go down as the person who cleaned baseball and everything, but I'll tell you, PR-wise, if there's awards to be given for the worst PR business negotiating, I mean, look at baseball. Right now, last night, I'm flipping through the channels, and there's a show, 2 hours, with brackets going through the NFL draft of every team saying, okay, the Cardinals against the Chargers. Who had the better draft? And one team moves to the second round.
Are we doing PR or are we doing PED?
We're doing PR and PED because I think the PED thing with baseball is a direct attempt at getting good publicity and shooting yourselves in the foot.
Well, you look at the list of things that are on there as the PED things, and whether or not you think 80 games is long enough. How many times are players tested in the minor leagues and test positive that you don't hear about? How many times are they already have those tests that are trying to clean up at the minor league level? When you get to the big league level, guys ought to know better.
And my whole thing is, you can say, oh, I didn't know that was illegal. I know I took that. You are in a situation in the majors, in college, where you have trainers, where you have the whole deal. you should know what you're doing.
Not only that, I looked it up today. There's an app you can put on your phone to put in any product, and it'll tell you whether it's on the approved list or not. If it doesn't show up, you don't take it.
You don't take it.
It took me literally 2 minutes. If I'm making multi-million dollars, I'm going to invest 2 minutes on my phone, put an app on there so I type it in, and so, wait a minute, I can't take that.
But
or at least I talk to my trainer about it and say, it didn't show up on this list, am I able to take this? No. Okay, fine, then I don't take it. The whole thing of I didn't know, I think is bullcrap.
What about not the I didn't know, but there was no rule against it at the time?
Now, see, that's a whole different thing.
The
The McGuire rule. If there's not a rule against it at the time, I don't see how you can be punished for that. And that's my problem with, it's another show for the Hall of Fame with the PED era and the steroid era is at that point in time, not all that was illegal that they were taking. And it was made illegal after it came out. And then at that point, then you have to say, well, okay, I can't take it anymore. But if it's not illegal,
Did Barry Bonds ever test positive for any?
no,
performance
He never
enhancing?
said it's a positive, but his trainer went to jail for him. I mean, Greg Anderson went to jail, didn't rat
Right,
him out.
but
He
again,
took it. He took it.
there's baseball sitting there. It's done, but baseball go back and look at some report. You know, the Al
Mitchell
Jazeera,
report.
the Al Jazeera thing with Peyton Manning. Baseball sits there and wants the whole report because they want to investigate every person on the Al Jazeera report. The NFL sat there and said, how quickly can we sweep this
Amen.
under the carpet
Yep.
and not bring bad publicity to
or maybe
to the
deal with
NFL?
it, maybe deal with it behind the scenes. I guess maybe that's your point, is the PR thing is how much of it is being dealt with behind the scenes, how much does it want to play out on the public stage? And if you're baseball, I would think you'd want to deal most of that behind the scenes. You wouldn't want to put your marquee players.
Here's the rule.
Up there.
Let's move on forward. Not here's the rule. Let's look back at who broke this rule and let's embarrass the heck out of our best players and our all-stars and our Hall of Famers.
But at the same time, once the rule is in place and you break the rule, then that's when I have a problem with it. And that's, on that list of the substances that are not allowed, it's quite long, by the way. You won't be able to read that. It's like 3 pages, and it's terms that no one really knows. And so if you were having to look at that, if you walk in your local GNC or your local vitamin store, you better have this list with you if you're a Major League Baseball player.
Can you see all that?
And hand it to them, yeah, barely. And hand them this list and tell them that those are things that you can't take. And is
And
any
the
of
sales
that,
guy will go, thank you for coming in, and we'll see you some other time. I mean, because everything's on the list, I would think.
probably. And it's not, this list
caffeine's
isn't even as
They
exhaustive
can drink Cuban coffee.
as the world, you probably shouldn't be able to drink Cuban coffee. The World Doping
Stimulants.
Association.
Can you see that right there?
Yeah,
This is
stimulants.
the list of stimulants, and Cuban coffee is not on there.
No, it's not. So I think, you got to be careful of what you put into your body as an athlete, truthfully.
Well, anybody should.
But the simple fact remains is you can take all of these things that you want to take. You can take any PED you want to take. It doesn't help you hit a 96-mile-an-hour fastball on the black. Either you can hit it or you can't hit it. Now, it may help you hit it a little farther, but it's not going to let you hit it. And that was my argument all the time with people who are upset with Bonds is, Bonds was a great hitter before he got on the juice.
Completely.
If he got on the juice, he's a better hitter after he got on the juice. Well, why? Well, because they weren't pitching him, and he was still hitting those pitches we talked about in the last session. You get 3 pitches a game, you hit 2 of them out of the ballpark. That's a pretty good percentage, and no one else was doing it, and I guarantee you he wasn't the only guy, even on his own team, taking that.
Well, at the time, I think one of the biggest things, and I'm sorry for cutting you off, is with the Barry Bonds thing. At that time, the first suspensions, I remember everyone, the home run hitters, the home run hitters. I want to say the first 10 players suspended for performance-enhancing drugs, I think 9 of them were pitchers.
Yeah, yeah.
Clemens was on that
Clemens
list.
was on that list.
Pettit was on the list, and
Pettit.
that's the one that I didn't remember was Pettit
Yep,
being.
Pettit was suspended.
Pettit being on
and
it.
I really think truly, and we talked about this before in another show with Bonds, I think Bonds saw certain players getting the publicity, and the more home runs you hit, it's going to be the more money. I think Bonds' ego got the better of him, and because he was already a Hall of
A
Fame
victim of
caliber player.
1998 Sammy Sosa,
I
Mark
really
McGwire.
believe that. I believe that his ego got the better of him, and he thought, well, I'm better than these guys. And I think Barry Bonds is better than those guys. Not taking anything away from McGwire or Sosa, but Bonds was a Hall of Famer before he started taking that stuff. And you now have what we have.
Chicks dig the long ball.
They do.
They always dig the long ball.
Glavine and Maddox, I remember that commercial, and that went off the air quickly once the performance-enhancing drugs started coming around. But But I'll tell you, and not to keep reharping, but the way it is treated in football, the NFL, the god of ESPN, versus Major League Baseball, who it's, and two main ones come to light, and one of them is Sean Merriman, who during his rookie year gets suspended for 4 games because of performance-enhancing drugs. He's voted Rookie of the Year because the vote was taken before it came out. They strip him, and then afterwards they re-vote, and they elect him Rookie of the Year with the knowledge. Yeah, he was, after they took it away from him, and then they redid the vote, and he still won it, having only played 12 games that year. And then the second one, in 2007, Wade Wilson, who at the time was the quarterback's coach for the Dallas Cowboys, still is. He's been quarterback's coach for the Cowboys for about 10 years under Garrett. And he tested positive, got a 5-game suspension. It's the quarterback coach. What is your quarterback's coach? That's when you know there's a problem. But the NFL just sweeps it under the table like it doesn't happen, because obviously the football players aren't using it. While Major League Baseball is, let's marquee, let's have all the fans boo this guy, and it's just completely different the way the media handles it, the way the fans handle it.
Okay, I'll bite. I'm not so sure that it's a bad PR move in one sense, in the sense of, hey, we want to be America's game. We want to be the middle class national pastime. And so we don't want to be seen as the group that has a bunch of drug problems and drug users playing the game. We don't want to have the violence that is sometimes associated with NFL players. Domestic violence issue is huge right now. You can't do that in any sport or you'll be gone.
And what's the balance that you acquired? Because baseball fans, I think, are more, I can't think of what I'm looking for, true to the game. They're more. It means more to them, I think, than football. They want to play the right way.
Well, it's purity. And the argument I always hear is
purity, right?
Baseball numbers are just regal, royal, and everything. And when you tarnish baseball numbers, you can sit there and have 20 sacks and some dude's on steroids and he gets 35 sacks and sets some NFL record. And it's, hey, he had but in baseball, you hit 74 home runs and break Barry Bonds' 73, or you break McGuire's 70, or you break Maris's 61, or it's huge. It's absolutely.
But for a fan, baseball numbers are more remembered, because if I told you who hit 700 in 55 home runs, you can tell me. If I told you who threw for 30,000 yards in the NFL, let me look it up. I mean, you don't know. Those numbers are ingrained.
And that's got a lot to do with it.
Who scored the most points in NBA history? We know who did it, but what was his number?
Right. No, that's the big part of it, is the purity of the true fans.
It is, and I think that's why you want to have this idea. I'm not sure that we've not gone too far. I think 80 games is a big suspension based on
plus the postseason.
Plus the postseason, depending on what you test for. Now, because some of these lists are like, you smoke marijuana, you get caught, you're done. You have synthetic marijuana, you're done. It's the same performance-enhancing drug as if you take something that's going to build a steroid. Right. It's the same. There's no sliding scale, and it's the same thing that happened in the NCAA with being here at Florida. We kind of know that thing that happened with our quarterback last year. It's the same sliding scale that doesn't seem fair. It doesn't seem fair that if your kid walks in, or D. Gordon goes into GNC, or his wife buys a product and he sees it sitting over there on the counter, and he just decides to take it to feel better that day, and it has something that's banned in it, he gets popped in a week. That doesn't seem to be merit the same punishment as a guy who's going in, seeing a doctor or a trainer and getting shot up with a steroid, knowing that it's illegal, so that he can stay in the game a little bit longer. Right. That to me is a different instance of what you should do as a PD.
Sure, and they're treated the same. Number 15 on the stimulants list is treated the same as number 12 on the performance enhancing, is treated the same as number 3 on the drugs of abuse. And you're done if you do any of those, and I don't think that's fair. I think that needs to be changed. But goodness, we're out of time again. You threw us a curveball with that one, and we maybe hit it to right field, but maybe
this weekend in Jacksonville Sports Culture, Monday in Mandarin. Come see me, 93.
New month in baseball. A lot of different guys that were a little cool in April, getting hot in May.
Hey, we broke the story on Story, too.
Yep.
And now he's the
Rookie of the month.
Rookie of the
First
month.
month of the season.
You heard it here folks. First, folks, I'll get it right in a minute. Hey, have a great week. Play ball if you get a chance, and definitely watch some baseball on TV.
Thanks for watching.